Data is everywhere. Although that's probably not a big surprise to you. You see data all the time now. If you're a sports fan, we've got so many stats available to us now, it's dizzying. Fantasy stats, you've got baseball launch angles now, ground covered making defensive plays, shifts, spray charts, all these kinds of things. Back in my day, hopefully you won't hear that too much, but back in my day, we basically had batting averages and earned run averages and your basics like that. Same with basketball and shot charts. You've got ground covered, you've got fatigue measures, all kinds of things like that. And it's the same in news. You look at election cycles now and the amount of detail as far as election voting patterns, things like that. The analysis is way more detailed than it used to be. So there's no surprise that we have data just coming out our ears, basically. So we visualize data. We're used to seeing data visualized. What can we determine just looking at this type of data? So we've got 3 bar charts here. We've got September, we've got October, and for the sake of argument, we're going to say we're in the midst of November right now. It's not over yet. So we've got Carla here that we're looking at her spending to see, what is her personal spending like? If any of you have had to track your spending or put together a budget, you may have done something along these lines, maybe not with a bar chart, but with some kind of a budget type approach. So you can look at this, you can start asking questions. Well, did overall spending increase from September to October? That's a little bit of a tough one to answer just with the way these bar charts are laid out. But if you were to add up all the numbers, you'd find that that's true. In October, did Carla spend less on gas than on groceries? So here you've got a pretty good way to stack those up side by side. You can see that the gas is slightly taller, but we also have the numeric tags right there on the bars, so we can actually see that yes, she did spend more on gas. What were the 3 highest expenditures in September? So you can look at the 3 tallest bars there and find that out fairly quickly. In September, did she spend about half as much on gas as she did in October? That might be a little bit tougher to figure out just looking at the bars, especially bars that are spaced out that far, but the numbers help us out here. So we use a combination of numbers and visuals to help make good comparisons. All right, now November will be a less expensive month overall for Carla. Well, so far it looks that way, but we don't know where we are in November. We don't know how much of the month has elapsed, how much is left. So we really can't make that determination yet. All right. So data opportunities are everywhere. And many of us first became aware of the use of data for data analytics via marketing campaigns, advertising, targeted advertising, and cross-selling that we saw pointed toward us as we were browsing the web, or now even in your email clients. If you use Gmail, you might see an ad that's related to something you're actually emailing about. Personal finance. We now have credit scores calculated for us automatically. We have our banks identifying potential debit card and credit card charge fraud for us and notifying us and putting transactions on hold until we determine one way or the other. So we've got data analytics and machine learning taking place there. Finance. Well, we've got automatic market trading algorithms running the bulk of the volume in at least certainly the U.S. stock market, probably other stock markets as well, with the volume of trading. And you can think about things that are taking place in companies. We've got sensors collecting data from all kinds of manufacturing machines. How much how much paint is being sprayed on this car? Are the nozzles getting clogged? How much waste is being created during the manufacturing process and collected? So we've got all kinds of data that we're generating, and we can manage workloads. We can make schedules more efficient. We can plan the logistics and track routes and plan routes a lot better. All these types of things are related to and dependent on the data that's available. And we have so much data that we've been able to crunch it and figure a lot of these things out. And of course, now we're moving into the professions and trying to see how we can help out with our professional activities. And then also from a professional standpoint, we're looking to see how we can help our clients get better with their use of data. So today, it's pretty easy to argue that you must understand the basics of data science in order to be able to function effectively in the business world. So almost all companies, and you could argue looking at some of the examples that we just saw on the last slide, that some of the largest companies in the world are data science companies, first and foremost. And then they leverage that to create their other product categories. So for us, being able to understand the basics will help us evaluate proposals. We're going to be seeing proposals based on data science, based on data availability and findings. We need to be able to determine whether our colleagues' ideas or our clients' ideas and findings make sense, or are there flaws in their approaches. We need to understand assumptions underlying approaches, data science approaches that our clients or colleagues are going to take. So, there are dozens, maybe hundreds of different data science, data mining, machine learning, what have you, techniques that you can use. Most of them fit into one or more of just a handful of basic categories of approaches. So if you understand some of the principles underlying these fundamental approaches, you can use that as a starting point for digging deeper into these specific techniques. So we'll touch on a handful of these techniques that cover the range of fundamental approaches, and hopefully you can use that as a springboard going forward. So some of the classic examples that you may have heard or will have a chance to read about: Target and pregnancy. This is one that became a classic marketing case. The data scientists at Target, one in particular, was able to put together an algorithm that took 25 items and put together a profile based on those of a woman in her early second trimester of pregnancy. And by doing so, they were able to get a jump on the competition and send marketing materials out related to child care, child needs, newborn needs, to those women and their families earlier than the competition. And by doing so, they were able to get them in the stores, have them buying their diapers, their baby needs, and start changing their shopping habits, because most of us have a bunch of ingrained habits that are very difficult to change. And only a few key events in our lives are big opportunities for companies to help us change them. So pregnancy or change in your family situation is one, marriage, job change, move, a drastic change in increase or reduction in income. All of those are changes that companies want to jump on and become your habit, if you will, going forward. Another example is Walmart. Walmart was able to identify when Florida had probably about 10 years ago or so, maybe a little longer now, a series of 4 hurricanes just coming through one after another. And they were able to analyze after the first 1 or 2 and find that they had sales increases in areas that you might not expect. Now, of course, everybody's going to go out and expect a power outage, so they're going to buy batteries, they're going to buy flashlights, they're going to buy lanterns, they're going to buy power generators, bottled water, things like that. So that's not something that was new and unexpected. They kind of knew that was coming, but they found that beer sales went up and actually became their number 1 seller. And interestingly, Pop-Tarts. So, and strawberry Pop-Tarts of all flavors. I'm a brown sugar cinnamon guy myself when it comes to Pop-Tarts, but strawberry's not bad, I guess. So strawberry Pop-Tarts and beer, and they were able to leverage that, take advantage of that when another hurricane was coming through, and found it useful. Now, in some cases, these are one-offs. Will this equate to hurricanes hitting in, say, Louisiana or Texas or other Gulf states? Who knows? Will it equate to a typhoon hitting Japan? Probably not. So it's important to understand the context of these findings. Signet Bank, you will get a chance to read about them, of course, and their ability to actually create and build data that they didn't have by offering all kinds of different things to customers, even at a loss. Even if it cost them money, they considered that a worthwhile investment to be able to build and collect the data that then they were able to mine profitably. Okay? Other examples you'll often hear about: customer churn. You see that in subscription-based industries. So a classic use case, and one that we'll probably visit a couple times, would be a cell phone carrier. Another one you might relate to is, well, credit cards would certainly work there as well. But another one that might be more relatable to us today, streaming services. Sling TV, YouTube TV, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Peacock, HBO, CBS, BritBox, Prime Video. We've got all these choices now. Which ones do we subscribe to, and how do they get us? How do they keep us? So the key problem is, how do we attract customers? That's a costly proposition. And importantly, how do we keep the customers once we have them? Because the customers are costly to replace. So we'll be working through some examples there, and we'll be also thinking about, well, how can we apply some of these ideas into the things we'll be doing as professionals as well. So that's a start for what we want to discuss this semester. Hope you found this information useful.